Hey everybody, this is graphic designer Roberto Blake, and hold on to your hats, because in this video about Fiverr and logo design, I get a little ranty. So recently, another YouTuber whose content I absolutely love and enjoy, David DeFranco, you should definitely make sure you're checking his stuff out and follow him on Twitter at David DeFranco. He did a video about how he feels about Fiverr and logo design, and I decided to have a couple of conversations with him about it before I chimed in and did my own video here, and I'm going to tell you what I think. Now, just to kind of surmise, the general impression is that people who use Fiverr as businesses and what have you are just cheapskates. And in some cases, that might be a valid point, but I think we need to understand what Fiverr is and who it's really meant for, both in terms of the creator side and the consumer side. So I'm going to try to be very fair and balanced, even though I have some really interesting views on this. So in my opinion, who Fiverr is for from the creative side is not for professionals. This is my major beef with Fiverr's, quote unquote Fiverr's. They style themselves as professionals, offering their work at $5? Are you serious? $5 and you're claiming to be a professional and to be able to deliver constant and consistent work? Now, granted, there are Fiverrs who do a tremendous job at whatever it is they're doing for that $5, and that's part of my beef with them is they're undervaluing themselves and they're underselling themselves to call themselves competing in the marketplace or to get in where they fit in or what have you, and I completely disagree with them doing that. If they're as talented as some of them are, they could command much larger, much more appropriate prices for their work, and I think it's that they're scared or they don't have the confidence or they've been devalued so much and they have so much anxiety about it that this is the only way they feel comfortable as artists to charge for their work. It is a terrible trait for a freelancer and entrepreneur to be so humble that they devalue their work and deprecate themselves and lower themselves way below the standard of what they should just because they don't want to ask for a certain amount of money and worry about offending people. That's not humility. I don't really have words for that. I'm stuck. I'm at a loss for words. I know that's hard for some of you to believe. There are plenty of graphic designers who are not arrogant, not pretentious, but manage to command an appropriate price and rate for their work. I consider myself to be one of them. I consider David to be one of them. I consider Jacob Cass, David Airy, Graham Smith, Karen Cavett, and a million other people, Sean Barry, shout out to Sean, to be graphic designers who can charge the appropriate amount for their work, not devalue themselves down to charging $5, $10, $50 for work, make a living, and still have managed to be very humble, very respectful, very conscientious human beings. So the idea that arrogant graphic designers are ripping off their clients by charging $500, $1,000, $2,000 for a logo and brand identity. Oh, it's not that hard. That's ludicrous. It's about what do you value the integrity of your business, and are you going to roll the dice or do you want to pay for certainty? Those are some things that come into play here. And if you're paying $5 for something that's going to represent your business, I have to question your investment and how committed you are to this business, which brings me to my other point. Who is Fiverr for on the consumer side? Fiverr, in my opinion, is not for an established and reputable business to be doing services with. It's for freelancers who need to offset their workload or need to outsource something or need something for themselves done because they have a low budget because of their own overhead. It's for very small businesses, maybe mom and pop shops, maybe hobbyists who are trying to make some money off of their hobby. But if you consider yourself a professional, legitimate business, you know that $5 is not going to cut it for representing your business in terms of a logo and a business card. If you handed, in my opinion, maybe he has a different one. If you handed Mark Cuban a business card with a logo with a $5 design on it, I think he'd see through it and call you out and rip up the business card because he understands the value of investing in something and how it makes a difference in how seriously you're taken. I'm sure that if I was shooting this YouTube video on a really, really crappy camera and super crappy audio, that no matter how good the information was, that many of you would not tune in and watch it. I invested a lot of money in the production values of my content, so that I can give you guys the best content and to show you that I'm serious and I'm here for the long haul and that I want to deliver a great experience for you. The same way, by the way, that I invested thousands upon thousands of dollars in the equipment, software, resources, and training that I bring to my graphic design profession, which means that if I were to charge $5 for what I do, I might as well shoot myself in the face because I will die before I make back what I've invested in just being able to do this level of work. So if somebody's doing work on Fiverr in terms of a logo designer, in my mind, like, okay, I don't imagine how you're using Adobe Illustrator unless you're using a bootleg, because if you're paying standalone, that's $20 a month. So you have to do what, 4 or 5 gigs before you can even make back the cost of your Creative Cloud subscription. You have to have internet clearly, so that's a couple $100. You gotta have a cell phone to be able to take client calls. You have a cell phone to be able to take client calls. You got electricity. You had to have bought this computer. I can't imagine how someone can be a Fiverr and make back the investment on their equipment and their software unless they're not using professional grade equipment and software. So that already sets the gap of the competition between a professional and that distinction and somebody who's a Fiverr. And that's not to say that there aren't professionals who are Fivers per se, but again, I think they're devaluing themselves. Fiverr, in my mind, is for the creators, it's for students, and for the consumers, it's for hobbyists, it's for people who are not legitimized and making sustainable revenue because they need to offset. And I think it's also for freelancers to use as a resource to get other people to do work for them. For example, I would use and intend to use Fiverr for something, but it's not going to be logo design. What I intend to use Fiverr for as a YouTuber, because I can't spend the time to transcribe all of my best videos with correct closed captions and set up so that I can put it into Google Translate and do multilingual stuff for my international audience. What I'm going to do is I'm going to outsource a lot of that through Fiverr, and I'm going to get some bulk rates and so on and so forth, because there's somebody who's going to be very qualified to just listen to the audio and transcribe it, which is not overwhelmingly difficult to do. It's just time consuming. If they value that at $5 and the work is quality, then of course I'm going to take them up on that. Of course I'm going to pay $5 and get that done and not have to do it myself and suck up time that I could be creating content. So yes, I can legitimately, as a consumer, not without, in my mind, being hypocritical, utilize Fiverr, because I'm not looking for a professional graphic designer. I'm not even looking for a professional copywriter. I'm looking for somebody, anybody, to just competently take notes on what I've said in this video and write it all back to me, which really, they might not even have to actually do anything. They might actually have voice dictation software that's doing all the work, and they just copy and paste. And if that's the case, I'm fine with it because I didn't have to do it. So what's my overall point with this video? My overall point is a point that I made in my What Should You Charge as a Graphic Designer video. You should figure out what your cost and your overhead and what the legitimate value of your work is to the audience that you're providing work for, and you should charge appropriately. So if you want to go after very small businesses to build up your reputation, build a name because you're a student or you have no experience or you're just starting in the industry, by all means, be a Fiverr and don't feel bad about it. I think there are better opportunities out there. I think you can do better with Guru. I think you can do better with Elance. I think you can do better with people per hour. But if you want to leverage Fiverr, I think you can do better with Craigslist, actually. But if you want to leverage Fiverr, feel free to do that and build up your portfolio. But once you get established, don't feel beholden to stay with that clientele just because you made your bones there. You've moved on and you've elevated. Hopefully, you've helped those people grow and do a successful business to where now they can pay and afford to pay you an appropriate rate. But if they're making money now and they still expect to only invest $5 to get the next level of work, then that's kind of on them, and you don't have to be the person who provides it, because you have clients who are now willing to invest in the quality of work that you're doing now that you have experience and you have confidence and you have references and you've established yourself with your portfolio. Again, I don't think Fiverr is inherently evil. I'm actually very thankful for Fiverr because it really helps me clarify the position of someone who's a per se professional graphic designer and someone who's just starting out, and why and what the differentiation between investment in terms of cost models are. Fiverr lets me make that distinction very clearly. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm also grateful for the fact that okay, for very little minor things that don't require a professional, I can outsource that work very affordably now. So that's good for me. That's good for a lot of people. And, I'm not hating on that. Just understand the level of where you are. If I was at a six-figure level, I wouldn't bother using Fiverr even for that resource. I would just, find a copywriter that does transcription services, and I would just figure out what the deal is to have all of my work transcribed and find out how long that's going to take. I'm just not at a point where I'm making so much off of the YouTube content to where that makes sense for me to do from a cash flow standpoint in terms of how much I'm making versus how much I'm investing there. But I think that there will be a point where I do that. So I plan to, once I move up, I don't plan to stay using Fiverr for that particular service. And that's just an example of the scale and how much I'm willing to invest in somebody. Now, if a provider, like someone on Fiverr, grows with me and they reach another level and they're exiting Fiverr and they want more money and they can provide me more value, then I'd absolutely maintain that relationship and I'd give them that business directly outside of Fiverr, because I believe in rewarding quality work and rewarding that kind of loyalty and investing in somebody else's creative growth and investing in them as an entrepreneur. So yeah, that video went longer than I intended, and it got much more ranty than I intended. I think I'm actually sweating from being under the lights this long. But anyway, I hope you guys appreciated my point of view on that video. I'm sure some of you may or may not agree with me. You know what? I'd love to have conversations with you guys about it in the comment section below. So let me know what you think. Feel free to ask me any of your questions about this and why I feel the way I do. Feel free to, again, respectfully disagree with me in the comment section below, and we'll just have that conversation there. Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the awesome content on my channel. Don't forget to check out David DeFranco's video, which helped kick this whole thing off. Again, huge fan of his work. I've had some wonderful conversations with him in the social space, and I really think you guys would enjoy his content. As always, you guys, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget, create something awesome today. Ideally not on Fiverr for very cheap.